Chosen one, what you're experiencing right now isn't random. It's divine. The moment your truth broke through, it didn't just trend. It triggered a meeting, a global wave of recognition, energy, and awakening. Your story hit something deep, something real, and people across the world felt it. Not because you tried to go viral, but because you chose to be honest. Your vulnerability tore through the noise and called strangers into alignment. This isn't just content. It's a call, a signal, a spiritual activation. You didn't chase the spotlight. It found you because truth always rises. And now that you're here, I want you to take a moment before we go deeper. Hit that like button so more chosen ones can find this message. Subscribe to help us reach 50,000 awakened souls, and drop the number 11 in the comments, because 11 is a divine signal, a number of alignment, manifestation, and confirmation. If you feel this in your spirit, don't scroll past. Stay with it because something powerful is unfolding, and it's calling you forward. When your story emerged from the shadows of silence, something extraordinary happened. It wasn't just another post in a sea of content. It was a soul signal. People across time zones paused mid-scroll, eyes widening, hearts stirring. It felt less like a trending moment and more like a collective realization. Someone out there had spoken the words we didn't know we were aching to hear. You weren't just heard, you were felt. There's a rare kind of resonance that only truth can deliver. It pierces the noise, humbles the algorithm, and goes straight to the soul. Your story, unpolished and unscripted, was exactly what the world needed. A reminder that courage still exists in a world too often masked in perfection. And that reminder, it didn't just reach thousands, it shook millions awake. Think about it. How often does the internet, so often numbed by trends and filters, stop to breathe in the weight of someone else's truth? But your voice didn't allow us to look away. It demanded presence, not with volume, but with undeniable authenticity. You reminded the world that there is still something sacred in being real, in being seen, in daring to speak when it's easier to stay quiet. And now people are doing just that. They're revisiting their own stories, cracking open long-locked truths, and daring to let the light in. You were the spark, but now the fire is spreading. A global heart, once asleep, is starting to beat again, with your rhythm guiding the way. Because in a time when most choose comfort over confrontation, you chose vulnerability. And in doing so, you didn't just trigger a trend, you triggered a transformation. You are the chosen voice, the unexpected catalyst the world didn't know it was waiting for. Most viral moments are built on gimmicks or algorithms, carefully calculated to catch attention. But your moment wasn't orchestrated. It didn't need marketing strategy or a perfectly crafted caption. It was real. And real doesn't have to chase attention, because real calls it in. Your message carried weight because it came from somewhere deeper than likes or shares. It came from purpose. What you did wasn't a pitch. It was a pull. People felt the gravity of your experience and leaned in, not because you asked them to, but because something in your truth echoed in their own silence. We are drawn to what reminds us of who we are, and your story, raw and unfiltered, didn't just remind us, it woke us. In a world of curated perfection, you dared to speak from the unedited middle of your journey. That's where the resonance lies. It's not the perfect ending that heals us. It's the shared process of becoming. And your process? It's still unfolding, still rippling outward, still opening hearts that had long since closed. This wasn't just a post or a story. It was a spiritual summons. It stirred something primal in all of us. The need to belong, to be seen, to remember that we're not alone in our pain or purpose. You didn't chase the spotlight, but when you spoke, the light found you, and it stayed. So here we are, not watching a trend, but witnessing a movement. Because the deepest calls are never made with microphones. They're whispered through pain, clarity, and soul. And you answered, not to be famous, but to be faithful to your truth. We've seen content go viral before, but this wasn't the usual flash in the pan sensation. This wave wasn't about entertainment. It was about embodiment. It didn't make people laugh or dance or click for novelty. It made them pause, cry, question, and connect. That's rare. That's powerful. That's what made it global. Your story traveled farther than most flights. It crossed languages, borders, and belief systems, not because of a clever hook, but because of the universal humanity embedded in it. Whether someone was in Nairobi, Tokyo, Berlin, or Brooklyn, your message translated directly into the language of the soul. People didn't just share your story, they shared themselves. Suddenly, social media turned sacred. Comment sections became confessionals. Messages turned into meetings. Isolation gave way to interconnection. Your vulnerability became a bridge, one that millions were willing to walk across. And this gathering, it's still growing. Virtual meetups, real-world conversations, new alliances, all born from your willingness to show up authentically in a fractured world. Your courage became the common thread. It stitched strangers together and reminded us that beyond our divisions, we are more alike than we are different. This isn't just a moment anymore. It's a movement with roots. It's global, yes, but more than that, it's intimate. And that intimacy is transforming how we see each other. One story, yours, opened the floodgates to millions more. Absolutely. Here's the continuation of your deeply emotional and transformational script, starting from heading 4 and continuing through 15. Each section is written with 5 long, humanized paragraphs full of real-world resonance, emotionally compelling language, and authenticity that connects. Your truth wasn't static. It became a signal, a live transmission of something greater than words, greater than a single voice. What began as personal revelation turned into a collective awakening. It didn't just stay in one space, it moved through digital veins into living rooms, classrooms, cafes, and conversations. Your truth hit like a siren, waking people from emotional sleep. People often talk about going viral as though it's luck or magic. But what happened here wasn't an accident, it was alignment. The moment you decided to stop hiding, the world started listening. And they didn't just hear your voice, they felt your frequency. That's what truth does. It doesn't just inform, it transforms. Think about how rare it is for someone to speak and the world stops to listen. Not to respond, not to argue, but to absorb. That's what happened here. Your story was carried not by data, but by emotion. And emotion is the oldest, most powerful transmitter we have. It cut through screens, through language, through time zones. It's humbling, isn't it? To realize that what you once kept hidden could be the very thing the world needs. That the wound you thought made you weak became the map others were waiting for. You didn't preach, you presented. And in your presentation, people found pieces of themselves they'd long forgotten. This isn't just communication, it's communion, a sacred sharing of soul. And now your transmission continues, echoing in hearts that are learning to listen again. You broke the silence, and now the world is tuning in. There's a moment when the world stops waiting for change and starts becoming it. That moment is now. And you? You're standing in the center of it, not by ambition, but by alignment. What you've sparked isn't just a conversation, it's a convening. People are coming together around your story, not to admire, but to activate. You've created a digital gathering unlike anything we've seen before. Strangers are becoming allies. Formerly silent voices are rising with power. Pain that once felt isolating is becoming a shared place of empathy and empowerment. This meeting didn't need an invitation. It needed an ignition. And that ignition was you. Communities are emerging, not around influencers or trends, but around truth. And you're not leading as a celebrity or figurehead. You're leading as a mirror, reflecting to people the parts of themselves they're ready to reclaim. That's real leadership, not control, but connection. Not domination, but devotion. We live in a time when attention is currency, but what you've earned is far more valuable than attention. It's trust. And trust doesn't come easily in a fractured world. You've become a sacred space, a living reminder that healing isn't only possible, it's already happening. This isn't a conference, it's a convergence of truth seekers, of healers, of everyday people hungry for something deeper than what we've been given. And at the center, it's not fame. It's your flame, still burning, still bright. What began as a single moment of exposure became a movement too powerful to be contained by any hashtag. While algorithms tried to box it in, real humans broke it wide open. This is no longer a post or a campaign. It's a cultural awakening, a shift from performance to presence. The hashtag may have helped people find your story, but it's the story that made them stay. And they're not staying as spectators. They're stepping into the arena because you didn't create a following. You created a field, a place where people could put down their masks and meet each other soul to soul. People are changing their lives because of your courage. They're having difficult conversations they once avoided. They're reaching out to loved ones they pushed away. They're finally asking themselves the questions they were too scared to ask because now they see what bravery looks like and they know it's possible. This movement is evolving every day, not through trends, but through transformation. It's in the way people speak more honestly, the way they hold each other accountable with compassion, the way they dare to share their scars instead of hiding them. You lit that fire, and now it's moving with momentum no machine can mimic. This isn't about virality anymore. It's about vitality, a living, breathing, growing movement of people ready to live out loud. All because one person, you, chose to be real in a world built on illusion. There's something revolutionary about authenticity. It disrupts the systems of shame, it disarms comparison, and it draws people in like a gravitational force. That's exactly what your authenticity did. It launched something larger than influence. It created intimacy on a global scale. We are living in an era where connection has been replaced with consumption, but your story reminded people of what connection really means. Not matching aesthetics, but shared emotion. Not curated timelines, but honest lifelines. You reminded us that we don't need to be perfect to be powerful. We just need to be present. People from across the world are now connecting over your story. They're DMing, commenting, calling, crying together because your truth touched the part of them that longed to be seen. You weren't just speaking for yourself, you were speaking for millions who hadn't yet found the words. This is what happens when one person stops pretending. The world feels permission to do the same. And what follows is not chaos. It's communion, a return to something sacred, not performance, but presence, not posturing, but participation in each other's stories, in each other's pain, in each other's healing. You didn't go viral by strategy, you went viral by sincerity. And that sincerity is still spreading because hearts always respond to the real thing. Always. Some things can't be explained by logic. They're orchestrated by something higher. And your moment, it didn't happen by chance. It happened by divine timing. At the precise moment the world needed truth, you found the courage to speak. That's not a coincidence. That's a calling. There were forces at play here that no algorithm could control. The right people were online. The right emotions were rising. The right questions were being asked. And then you showed up, not as a guru, but as a guide. Your pain became prophecy. Your process became purpose. We often underestimate how powerful timing is, but spiritual timing has a way of amplifying what the world is ready to hear. And when your message came, it wasn't just heard, it was received deeply, urgently, universally. People didn't just want your truth, they needed it. There's a kind of alignment that happens when our personal healing meets public purpose. And in that alignment, destinies are activated. Yours was, and now so are many others. People are seeing signs, having revelations, starting over because your moment didn't just inspire, it awakened. This wasn't random. This was divine orchestration, a reminder that when we honor our truth, we enter the exact frequency the world is waiting for. And once we're in that frequency, everything changes. In a world dominated by clicks, likes, and shares, algorithms rule what we see and often what we don't. But your story disrupted this system. It wasn't just another viral post designed to game the numbers. It was a genuine human signal that pierced through the noise and cracked the digital code. You showed that authenticity isn't just good, it's unstoppable. Algorithms thrive on predictability, but your raw honesty was anything but predictable. It was chaotic in the best way, unfiltered, unrefined, and unafraid. That unpredictability made it contagious, not because it fit the mold, but because it shattered it. The algorithm may decide what content trends, but it cannot manufacture soul. And your story had soul in abundance. The digital space can feel cold and mechanical, but you reminded the world that behind every screen is a beating heart longing to connect, to understand, to be understood. Your signal carried this heartbeat's rhythm, syncing millions of people in a shared moment of awakening. It was more than content, it was a call to consciousness. Because the truth is, no algorithm can replicate vulnerability. No AI can match the raw power of a human story told honestly and without masks. And that's why your message didn't just trend, it transcended. It forced a system designed to keep us scrolling, to stop and listen. You broke through because you dared to be yourself, fully, unapologetically, and in doing so, you reminded us all that the greatest power we have isn't the technology we use, but the truth we share. Your voice started local, perhaps a whisper in a small circle, a personal confession shared with a few, but that whisper became a roar that echoed across continents. It's a testament to the power of one, to how a single story grounded in authenticity can become a global heartbeat. This is the magic of our interconnected world. The barriers that once separated us, distance, culture, language, begin to dissolve when a story carries universal truths. Your truth resonated because deep down, people everywhere recognize their own struggles, hopes, and fears reflected in it. What's remarkable is how this pulse began to synchronize diverse communities, from bustling cities to remote villages, from the young to the old. Your voice reminded everyone that beneath our differences, we share common humanity. It's the language of pain and healing, loss and renewal, fear and courage. Your story invited the world to lean in, to listen, to not just your words, but to the silent stories living inside each of us. And in this collective listening, a new rhythm was born, a pulse that beats with empathy, courage, and connection. You didn't just speak for your neighborhood or your nation. You sparked a global movement, a living pulse that continues to grow, reminding us that every voice matters, no matter how small it may seem at first. When your story surfaced, millions heard it, but something even more profound happened next. Those millions began to hear themselves. Your vulnerability became a mirror, reflecting back parts of their own lives they had buried or ignored. Suddenly, silence gave way to inner conversations, healing, and growth. This is the true power of storytelling. It's not just about telling others what happened to you. It's about inviting them into their own stories. Your courage became permission for others to unpack their truths, to face their shadows, and to reclaim their narratives. In the aftermath of your message, countless people started journaling, seeking therapy, reaching out for support, or simply talking more honestly with friends and family. The ripple effect of one brave confession became a tsunami of self-awareness and transformation. What's inspiring is that this isn't a moment frozen in time. It's ongoing. Your voice sparked an awakening that will continue to inspire reflection, courage, and healing for years to come. People are not just listening, they're awakening their own voices. You lit the match, but now the world is holding the flame, and in that light they are finding their way home to themselves. In a digital age flooded with fleeting memes and hollow challenges, your story broke the mold. It proved that the most powerful trend isn't what's flashy or viral for a moment, it's what's real and raw, what touches the soul and stays with us long after the screen goes dark. Realness is magnetic because it reminds us who we are, beneath the filters, facades, and daily noise. Your story wasn't about perfect moments or highlight reels. It was about the messy, beautiful, painful, and hopeful journey of being human. People are craving this kind of truth more than ever. It's why your story spread like wildfire, because it's honest, unvarnished, and deeply relatable. It gives permission to be imperfect, to struggle, and to rise again. You started a wave that others are now riding, not for fame or fortune, but for freedom. Freedom to be themselves in a world that often demands conformity. That's why this isn't a trend that fades. It's a revolution in the way we connect, communicate, and care. This realness is contagious, and it's rewriting the rules of what it means to be influential in the 21st century. You didn't plan to be the wake-up call, but here you are, the alert the world desperately needed in a time of chaos, division, and uncertainty. Your voice pierced the fog. It reminded us all that awakening starts with one person daring to be seen and heard. This awakening is not just about awareness, it's about action. Your story invited people out of complacency and into courage. It asked us to confront uncomfortable truths, to embrace vulnerability, and to choose connection over isolation. The world is hungry for this kind of awakening because underneath the noise and distraction, there is a deep yearning for meaning, for belonging, and for healing. You showed that awakening is possible even in the darkest moments, and that it starts with telling the truth. You became a beacon for those lost in the shadows of fear, shame, and silence. Your story shone a light not just on your path, but on countless others who are now finding their way. The awakening is here, and it has your name written in its story. Your story did more than attract eyes, it ignited imagination. It sparked a vision for what's possible when we dare to be real, when we stop hiding behind curated versions of ourselves and show up with all our wounds and wonders. This vision is one where empathy replaces judgment, where courage outshines fear, and where connection conquers isolation. People are beginning to see a world where healing is collective and authenticity is currency, because your story didn't just reflect pain, it reflected potential, the potential for growth, transformation, and transcendence. It challenged the narrative that brokenness is weakness and showed that it is actually the birthplace of power. In inspiring this vision, you are helping to rewrite the cultural script. You're inviting people to dream bigger, not just for themselves, but for humanity. That's a gift that transcends numbers and metrics. You've opened a door to a future where stories like yours become the norm, not the exception. What looks like a viral moment is actually a revolution unfolding. A revolution not fought with weapons, but with words, with vulnerability, and with collective healing. Your story became a gathering point, a rallying cry, and a revolution in the way we relate to ourselves and each other. This revolution is breaking down walls between people, communities, and even within ourselves. It's tearing apart the masks we wear and the silence we hide behind. It's redefining strength as the courage to be soft, the bravery to be open, and the power to be connected. In this viral meeting, strangers become allies and allies become a movement fueled by shared stories and shared hearts. This is the quiet upheaval that changes culture, not overnight, but over time, with every honest conversation sparked by your truth. You didn't just go viral, you helped to start a revolution, and that revolution is just beginning. It's a revolution of the heart, of the human spirit, and of our shared destiny. Together, we are rewriting the story of what it means to be seen, to be heard, and to be human. There are moments in life when a single spark lights up the entire dark landscape of uncertainty. Your story was that spark, the unexpected ignition that cut through apathy and despair. It wasn't just a message, it was a wake-up call that jolted hearts awake, urging the world to pay attention to truths often buried under layers of fear and pretense. In this era of noise, your voice was clarity. This spark started small, but it was fueled by pure authenticity. People connected because they saw themselves reflected in your vulnerability, their own struggles mirrored back in your honesty. Your courage to expose your raw self made it safe for others to begin unraveling their own hidden pains and dreams. This is the power of truth. It doesn't just shine, it transforms. The ripple effect has been profound, from social media screens to quiet conversations in living rooms. Your story has become a catalyst for healing and connection. It has inspired countless souls to shed masks they've worn for years, to stop hiding, and to start living boldly. The spark you lit has become a wildfire. And wildfires don't just burn, they regenerate. They clear space for new growth and brighter futures. Your awakening spark is doing just that, sweeping through collective consciousness and carving paths for deeper empathy and understanding. It's rare that one voice can create such seismic shifts, but your authenticity was that rare force, powerful, undeniable, and necessary. You didn't just tell a story, you sparked a movement toward awakening. In a culture obsessed with perfection and control, Vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, but your story shattered this misconception. You showed that true strength lives in the willingness to be seen fully, even when it's uncomfortable or risky. This courage to embrace imperfection became a beacon for those shackled by shame and fear. Being vulnerable takes immense bravery. It means standing naked before the world, not just physically but emotionally, exposing wounds and fears that most hide. Yet your vulnerability didn't repel, it magnetized. People were drawn to the honesty, the realness, the human in you. It was an invitation for others to take off their masks and join you in that brave space. Your story revealed that vulnerability is the birthplace of connection. When we share our true selves, barriers dissolve and empathy flourishes. Suddenly, strangers become allies, isolated souls find community, and pain transforms into healing. Vulnerability is strength because it bridges hearts and minds across divides. This redefinition of strength is revolutionary. It's not about dominance or control, but about surrender and authenticity. You taught the world that standing tall sometimes means standing open, and that power flows through our ability to show up with honesty. Through your example, many are learning to redefine what it means to be strong, not by hiding, but by shining, flaws and all. In a world fractured by polarization and misunderstanding, your narrative became a bridge. It connected people from wildly different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives through the universal language of humanity. Your story reminded us that beyond our surface differences, we all grapple with pain, hope, and longing. Bridges don't erase differences. They honor them while creating pathways for empathy. Your voice invited people to cross the divide of judgment and enter a shared space of compassion. It's no small feat to get someone to walk across that chasm, but your authenticity made it possible. The power of your story lies in its relatability. It wasn't about ideology or politics, but about soul-level truths, heartbreak, resilience, vulnerability that anyone could feel. This common ground fostered dialogue instead of debate, understanding instead of opposition. As these bridges strengthen, they weave a network of shared humanity. The movement you inspired isn't just about individual healing, it's about collective reconciliation. In a fragmented world, you've become a catalyst for unity, and in this unity lies hope. A hope that when we lean into our shared stories, we can heal divisions and build a future rooted in empathy and collaboration. Have you ever wondered what truly connects us beneath the surface? Your story illuminated those invisible threads, the subtle ties of shared experience, emotion, and longing that bind humanity together. These threads are delicate yet resilient, weaving a tapestry of connection that spans continents and cultures. Your authenticity acted like a needle, threading through countless hearts, stitching a pattern of collective awakening. It reminded us that no matter where we come from, our pain and joy often echo the same melodies. It's in these echoes that we find belonging and hope. What's magical about these invisible threads is that they are often unnoticed until someone pulls on them. Your story was that pull, the tug on a collective heartstring that revealed how interwoven we truly are. Suddenly, loneliness gave way to belonging, and isolation to solidarity. This tapestry isn't static. It's alive and growing, strengthened by each person who dares to share their truth. Your courage to be seen has created a network of invisible threads, a community united by shared vulnerability and courage. And these threads will keep weaving, binding us together in ways that transcend borders and languages, reminding us that at our core, we are one. In a digital marketplace flooded with images, opinions, and distractions, truth is the most precious currency. Your story was a vault of this currency, rare and authentic, and that's why it commanded attention and respect. People are starved for honesty, and your offering was a feast. Truth builds trust, something no algorithm or ad campaign can manufacture. It's the foundation of real connection and meaningful change. When you shared your truth, you weren't just telling a story, you were making a deposit into a communal bank of hope and courage. This currency transcends numbers. It can't be quantified by views or likes because its value lies in impact, the impact on hearts, minds, and lives. Your truth has paid dividends in awakening, healing, and transformation. What makes this currency so powerful is its scarcity. In a world that often rewards illusion, being real is a radical act. Your authenticity challenged that status quo and invited others to do the same, creating a ripple of genuine human exchange. Ultimately, your truth is priceless. It's the gift that keeps giving, inspiring others to invest in themselves and each other. We live in an age of information overload, where countless voices compete for attention. Yet your voice rose above the cacophony, not by shouting louder, but by speaking from a place of deep authenticity. You proved that one honest voice can cut through noise and resonate with millions. There's something magnetic about a voice that dares to be real. It's like a lighthouse guiding ships through stormy seas. Your story became that beacon, steady, unwavering, and deeply human. People didn't just hear you, they felt you. In a sea of noise, your voice provided clarity and calm. It invited listeners to slow down, reflect, and connect with their own truths. You didn't try to compete, you invited collaboration and community. The power of one voice reminds us that we don't need to be loud to make an impact. Sometimes all it takes is a single authentic note to change the entire song. Your voice was that note, and it's still ringing in the hearts of many. Pain is often hidden or ignored, yet your story made it visible and valuable. You rewrote the narrative around suffering by showing it not as a curse, but as a crucible for growth. Your honesty transformed pain from something to be ashamed of into a source of strength. This redefinition is revolutionary because it shifts the cultural conversation. Instead of pain being a sign of weakness, it becomes a teacher, a gateway to deeper understanding and resilience. Your journey showed that embracing pain is not defeat, it's courage. By sharing your struggles openly, you gave permission to others to do the same. This has sparked a movement of healing where pain is honored rather than hidden. It's an invitation to lean into discomfort and find empowerment. Your story reminds us all that pain is part of the human experience, but it doesn't have to define us. Instead, it can refine us, sharpen our empathy, and deepen our connection to others. In rewriting this narrative, you've given countless people the courage to own their pain and transform it. Every great movement has a heartbeat, a pulse that keeps it alive and thriving. Your story became the rhythmic pulse that energized a growing wave of authenticity. This heartbeat is felt in the stories shared, the conversations sparked, and the lives changed. Authenticity isn't just a buzzword, it's the lifeblood of meaningful change. Your willingness to be vulnerable set the tempo for others to join in, creating a collective rhythm that's both healing and revolutionary. This heartbeat connects individual stories into a unified force, reminding us that none of us are alone in our struggles or triumphs. It pulses with courage, connection, and community. The movement you inspired isn't a fleeting trend, but a sustained dance of realness and openness. It's a reminder that when we move together, driven by truth, we create unstoppable momentum. Your story gave this movement its heart, steady, strong, and full of life. Healing often begins in silence, a quiet place of introspection and vulnerability. Your story is a powerful testimony of moving from that silence into song, where pain is transformed into expression and isolation into shared experience. This journey isn't easy. It takes courage to step out of the shadows of silence and find your voice. But once you do, your song has the power to heal not only yourself, but others who hear it. Your willingness to share your story turned personal healing into a collective anthem. It gave others the courage to start their own journeys from silence to song, finding freedom and expression. The song you helped write is filled with notes of hope, resilience, and transformation. It reminds us that healing is not linear, but a dynamic, evolving process that grows stronger when shared. Your story shows that our voices, once silenced, can become powerful instruments of change and connection. Sometimes being authentic means standing alone in a crowded room. Your story is a testament to the courage required to be solitary in your truth. And yet that solitude became a source of immense power and inspiration. Standing alone is daunting. It means risking rejection and misunderstanding. But your bravery showed that being true to yourself, even when isolated, can ripple outward in unimaginable ways. Millions were inspired because they saw you stand firm, unwavering and unapologetic. Your solitude became a lighthouse, guiding others through their own moments of loneliness and doubt. This courage to stand alone is a powerful reminder that sometimes the loneliest places lead to the most profound transformations. Your story encourages everyone to embrace their own unique path, no matter how solitary it feels. In inspiring millions, you proved that solitude and strength often walk hand in hand. Your story was more than a personal revelation. It was a global invitation to be real. This invitation transcended borders, cultures, and languages, calling people worldwide to join a movement rooted in truth and connection. Such an invitation is rare. It asks people to shed their fears, masks, and defenses to enter a shared space of honesty. Your story made that invitation irresistible because it was grounded in genuine emotion and experience. As people responded, this invitation became a gathering, a collective coming together to support, heal, and uplift. Your narrative was the door, and millions stepped through, hungry for authenticity. The global scale of this invitation shows the universal hunger for connection. It proves that no matter where we come from, we crave spaces where we can simply be ourselves. You extended that space and the world answered with open hearts. Pain is often isolating because it feels deeply personal, yet your story transformed it into a universal language, a language spoken without words but understood by every heart that's ever suffered. By articulating your pain with honesty, you translated it into a message that crosses cultures and generations. People from all walks of life could listen and feel understood, not judged or alienated. This universal language of pain fosters empathy and breaks down barriers of misunderstanding. It invites connection through shared experience, building bridges where there were once walls. Your ability to give voice to pain teaches us that suffering can unite us rather than divide us. It's a reminder that behind every personal story is a thread of common humanity. Your story is a powerful engine driving this invisible revolution. This movement operates in the spaces between people, in conversations, online communities, and hearts opened wide. It's fueled by visible truth, the kind that can't be hidden or ignored. Each story shared like yours is a spark that lights the way for others to step into their own authenticity. Together, these sparks create a constellation of hope, guiding us toward a more compassionate world. Though invisible, this movement is palpable, felt in the shift of attitudes, the breaking down of stigma, and the rise of empathy. Your voice is a vital part of this collective heartbeat. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful revolutions happen quietly through the courage to be real. What if your story could be more than a personal testament? What if it became a blueprint, a guide for collective healing? This is the transformative potential your narrative holds. By sharing your journey openly, you've laid out steps others can follow: acknowledgement, vulnerability, acceptance, and growth. Your path illuminates the process of turning pain into empowerment. This blueprint encourages communities to heal together, breaking cycles of silence and shame. It offers a map for building empathy and support systems rooted in authenticity. Collective healing isn't just about fixing individuals, it's about transforming cultures and societies. Your story provides a foundation for this transformation. As more people embrace this blueprint, we move closer to a world where healing is shared and holistic. Finally, your story is crafting a legacy, a lasting gift to future generations. This legacy isn't measured in fame or fortune, but in the lives touched and hearts changed by your honesty. Legacy is about impact, and your impact is profound. You've planted seeds of courage, authenticity, and connection that will continue to grow long after this moment. This legacy invites those who come after you to live boldly and honestly, to embrace their own truths without fear. It challenges old narratives and inspires new ones grounded in hope and resilience. Your story ensures that the conversation about realness, vulnerability, and healing will continue, rippling outward in ways you may never fully see, but will deeply feel. You are not just telling your story. You are building a future where truth is honored and humanity is embraced. Absolutely, I'll expand each heading further with even deeper, longer paragraphs to give you a truly immersive, emotionally rich script. Here's the continuation and extension of the first few headings, fully fleshed out with detailed narratives, examples, and emotional resonance. There are rare moments in history when a single voice doesn't just speak, but shakes the very ground beneath us. Your story was exactly that, a spark so powerful it shattered the quiet complacency that many had settled into. When your truth emerged, it was like a flare in the night sky, impossible to ignore. It jolted the